Hello, my inky friends. It's Cindy Lynn with My Inky Fingers. Thank you so much for joining me today on my YouTube channel and blog for Create a Holiday Scene card. I'm going to use the new August to December mini catalog by Stampin' Up and the really super fun Freezing Fun bundle. I love penguins. So I'm looking here at the cards and I got some inspiration for building a winter scene card. So we're gonna do kind of a fun fold here. Now I cut my cardstock to 11 by 4 1/4 and I scored it at 3 1/2. And I did re-record this because I gave you the wrong measurements, but I did freeze frame it here also because if you want to fold this card when it's all done and fold it flat and have it fit in a regular envelope, score it at the 5 1/2 mark. If you want to follow exactly what I did, score it at the 6 1/2 mark, but you will have to make your own envelope. But the reason why I did the scoring here is I just kind of liked the way the card stood up, so that's why I chose to do it. Try it out on some scratch piece of paper and, like some copy paper, and do the 2 different scores and then fold it up and see what you like, okay? So if you want it to fit in an envelope, go 5 1/2. If not, go 6 1/2. So you'll need just a scratch piece of Whisper White, and you'll want to stamp all your images on that. Now, the designer series paper, I've got that there and the measurements up on the screen, and I just kind of picked a little bit of a part that I thought would go with my scene. Now, these dies, I cut them out on scratch paper first, just copy paper, because I wanted to make sure that my little hills and valleys all went the right way. But for me, it was important that the bottom piece was at least 2 inches because I wanted the little hill to kind of sit a certain way behind the little penguin and the seal at the bottom of the card. And you'll see that as we go along. So I'm just going to cut those out of some Whisper White, and that there's some Misty Moonlight. Now here I want to show you guys what I figured out. If you flick your wrist away from the direction you're using that Stampin' Seal, you've probably seen me do it a couple times now. I find that you don't have to get the tape running again. So just a little tip there. So I've got everything kind of starting to lay out here. I'm going to lay out my snow for my little hills and valleys. I don't know what else to call them, hills and valleys. So as you can see, I've colored up all my images because this was a little bit longer of a video. So I did color them up, but I'm going to show you something really, really, really cool you can do with these images. So I'm going to do another freeze frame here in a little bit and show you a really cool way to color them. Now here I'm just kind of playing with my hills and valleys. I had already cut them out on the copy paper and kind of laid them out. So now I'm just trying to get them laid out the same way. And I'm just going to lay all my little pieces on here where they're going to go. And I'm going to put the 3 trees here, but I'm going to change it. Now here's where I'm going to show you the coloring. If you look at the penguin and you look at the little raccoon there, their eyes, it would have been really, really difficult there to color their eyes because there was nothing was drawn out. So I took my Copic multi-liner, and I'll link it below because that you can use alcohol markers with and it won't bleed. But I just drew in pencil first a little heart around the eyes of the penguin and 2 little ovals around the eyes of the raccoon, because if I just colored it right in black, you wouldn't have seen their eyes, and then I would have had to use maybe the jelly pen and make their eyes white, and I didn't want that. So I just drew it out in pencil till I thought I had it, and then I traced it over with my Copic multi-liner, and then I just went to town and colored them. And really, a penguin kind of has the white around his eyes, and the raccoon is a little different than what they actually look like, but he's a cartoon, and it's your image. You can color it any way you want. So that's just a little quick tip on coloring in those cute little images. Now moving along, I am going to continue placing all these little pieces here. I didn't go with the 3 tree cluster there behind the seal, but I have it there right now. You'll see where I stuck it afterward. But I just want to make sure that everything's kind of laid out the way I want it, and then I'm going to hold all my little hills and valleys and slide all the pieces off, because now I'm just going to use my Stampin' Seal, and I'm just going to put that on the back. And I used the Stampin' Seal because I wouldn't have all the extra glue everywhere, and then I used my mini trimmer just to trim off the sides of those. And if it's a little thick for your mini trimmer, just use a bigger guillotine trimmer, because it does get pretty thick there with 4 layers of cardstock down at the bottom, right? So now I'm just going to start kind of piecing these all in. Now, I told you guys about these little bottles the other day, and I still absolutely love them because they're so easy to squeeze out of. But I found that the stainless steel pin, the liquid inside wants to go blue, so don't stir them upside down if you're going to have these, because then all your liquid touches your glue. So I was kind of disappointed about that, but I still love how easy they are to squeeze and get everything out of them. And that multi-purpose liquid glue, transferring it into there, oh my gosh, such precision. I love it. I don't get any little splooges anymore. So nevertheless, I'm going to stick a block over those trees because there is a little bit of a difference in the height between the hill and the actual designer series paper, so I want those to adhere down really good. I chose to not pop stuff up with dimensionals here. You do you, and you do it the way you want. Now here on the designer series paper, there was kind of like a little, I don't know, like it looked like it had been sponged with some blue just to give the snow some dimension. So I just cut off a piece of one of the Stampin' Up sponges, and I stuck a little teeny little paper clip on there so I could hold it and not get ink all over me. And see my Picasso. that's my idea of how this card was going to look. I drew it out. Thank God I know how to make cards better than I draw. But I just pick up the ink, dab it off, and then come into my cardstock. It's better to have it too light than have it too dark because you just want a little bit of dimension, right? So I used the Misty Moonlight ink for that. So now here's an important tip. For the trees, I didn't do the dimension, right? Because I just kind of wanted the little images of the little critters to pop up. So I only did one layer here on the raccoon. And I'm going to just kind of fussy play around with him a little bit because I wanted him really in the right direction. Like I wanted him looking like he is really flying down that little hill, right? So I'm going to set that to the side for a second. And here's where I'm going to do my sentiment. Now, again, this centerpiece in the middle where I'm going to do this sentiment will be smaller if you chose to score it at the 5.5, but if you went with the 6.5, then all of my measurements here that come up will fit for your sentiment, right? And I did make an envelope and I recorded it, but the video was just so long. So I will link right up here a video I've done an envelope in, and you'll just follow the directions on there. So I'm just trying to figure out what I want on the inside, and I'm going to go with Misty Moonlight because that's the color that's in the designer series paper. I love that about Stampin' Up. Everything, all the colors just coordinate perfectly. So I've got my heat gun ready, and I'm going to stamp the sentiment with Versamark ink right on the inside, and I'm going to emboss these in white. And you know, another thing you could do with this card that would be super cute is, I didn't do it because I didn't want, I didn't do it. I was going to, but I was going to stamp those snowballs on the front of the card and then put those little mini pom-poms. I linked those in my last Christmas card with the giraffe, but the little pom-poms would have looked super cute, but nevertheless, I didn't do it. And can't do it on the inside because you got to lay the card flat. Now, if you're not mailing the card, put those pom-poms on the inside. I mean, you're not mailing it, so it doesn't need to lay flat, right? So that would be super cute. Now, I always turn my heat gun on when I'm applying my embossing powder because then it's a little hotter and it kind of melts a little quicker. So I am going to show you how to get all of your powder off of that dark cardstock, and I'm going to show you something really cool you can do to it as well. Now, for the little icebergs, I don't know, what are they? I guess they're not icebergs. I guess they're, yeah, Cindy Lynn, icebergs. I think they're just little chunks of ice, right? But those are going to sit below the animals, and this is what's going to help keep your card open. So this was my little bright idea. And then I took it a step further, as you're going to see in a little bit here. Now, I just used a chamois to wipe that all off. And this was an afterthought just because I wanted to show you guys that shimmer spray. If you spray it on both sides of your paper won't curl. And the shimmer spray, I'll link that up above for how you can make that shimmer spray yourself. So now here, it's important to stamp your sentiment a little to the left so you can cut the side off of it straight right there, because I didn't want the whole shape. I just wanted it to be straight on the edge of my little card there. So I'm going to put dimensionals on there as well, and you know, just be a little fussy with where I want that to go. And I didn't bother matting it. I just left it as is because I don't want the sentiment to stand out. I want all my little critters to stand out. So I'm going to go in with a little bit of the Wink Stella, and I was only going to do where I had done the little blue stamping, and then I was like, oh, well, let's just go to town. And then I did all the white of the little trees, and then I ended up doing the all the metal there that would be on the sleigh, I guess. Now, really, really important, tap your Wink Stella. Just tap it, like pounce it, because if you rub it back and forth, your ink will bleed, right? So just tap it up and down, you know, and then nothing will bleed and it won't ruin all your great coloring. So I really went to town with this Wink Stella, but it's a winter scene, so I wanted it to kind of, you know, be all sparkly and glimmery. Now, the insert is nice and sparkly and glimmery there. Now, you can use those white jelly pens to write your sentiment as well on that blue piece of paper. So I'll make sure I link those down below for you. So now I'm just marking here where I need to apply all of my Stampin' Seal, because we don't want that sticking up, right? So I just kind of laid it out, put a pencil mark so I knew where the card ended, like the front of the card where it ended on the actual base, so I didn't have any extra Stampin' Seal popping out. So now this is where I'm going to put those little ice chips, ice thingies that the animals are going to sit on. And if you find your card doesn't want to stand up, just keep scoring it. And I scored it a couple times because I used thick cardstock, so you have to score it a few times so it holds its form. So I just have it in form, and I'm going to add these. Now, I kind of am holding the little seal there because I want it to be placed just right, because I want him in a certain spot in front of those trees. So I just held him there with my finger. Now, here's what I chose to do. I chose to double up my dimensionals. So I went 2 layers thick, because 1 layer thick, they didn't quite look like they were actually on the ice pieces. So I went another one. Now here, I kind of die cut out another one of those hills, and I thought, it doesn't look great laying flat there. So I pulled out my pencil and thought, what if I just draw a little pond? I mean, it's super easy, right? So I thought, yeah, this kind of looks kind of cute. So I'm going to go in with the same Copic multi-liner. And you know what? You don't have to be perfect here. Like, ponds aren't perfectly shaped. So I'm just making sure it connects to all my little ice pieces. And now, it looks like there's a pond there. And it's so easy to do. I mean, come on. You guys can totally draw that. I know you can. So I pulled out my ink, and I'm just using my water brush. Water painter, I can't even remember what they call them, you know, the old aqua painter. And then I'm going to go really, really light, and I'm going to pounce it off on my scratch paper there, because I don't want it too dark. And as you can see, there's no rhyme or reason. Like, I want it to look swirly, like it's an actual pond. And I was pretty happy with that there. And then I'm going to go with the Wink Stella, and I'm just going to add some shimmer, because everything is frosty and freezing and fun. And I am absolutely loving that. And here I thought I sucked at scene cards. I'm actually kind of surprising myself. So I did take that extra tree that I didn't use, threw on some Wink Stella, and I thought, you know, I just need a little another something here. So I took the wee, and you can see I stamped it off there first. I just wanted to see if my sticker was on straight before I ruined my pond, and it was pretty straight. So I went ahead and just eyeballed it and stuck it on the card, and I'm going to tuck that last tree in behind the penguin, and I'm going to put a lot of Wink Stella on the balls of the hats. Like, I went really, really, really thick here because I wanted it to kind of stand out. And you could use pom-poms here too if you wanted, but I mean, guys, I'm like super, super stoked about this card. Now, it doesn't want to lay flat, so I'm going to go in and I'm really going to burnish it really, really good again. And burnishing is the key, and there you have it. It sits perfect, and I love it. Let me know what you guys think. I'm so excited about this set. I can't wait for you guys to be able to order it. Let me know if it's now on your wish list, and until I see you again, take care and happy stamping!